Coming up, a former police chief filing a lawsuit against the City of Greenville, claiming inappropriate behavior by a local city councilwoman. A report on the way. Plus, Walmarts across the nation and here in the Delta set to begin administering COVID-19 vaccines. This and more starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for your Delta News at 10. I'm Lakia Scott. We begin with a shakeup at the Greenville Police Department. Former Police Chief DELANDO Wilson is suing the city, claiming illegal and inappropriate behavior by City Councilwoman Tasha Banks. Wilson resigned from the department in January and now says he was forced out. Attorney Renitha Frison, who is representing Wilson, says her client cannot speak to the media at this time because of pending litigation. The lawsuit was filed in Washington County Circuit Court. However, city officials tell us Circuit Court Judge Margaret Carey McCrae dismissed it because the court does not have jurisdiction over this case. Meanwhile, Greenville Mayor Eric Simmons tells us Danny Grace will serve as interim chief while the city searches for a permanent replacement. A Washington County man is sentenced to life in prison for killing his band leader. District Attorney Dwayne Richardson tells us Leonard Stevenson was found guilty Wednesday on capital murder in the death of Billy Smiley. Stevenson is a former Greenville High School football player and a musician in Smiley's band, Billy Smiley and the Young Guns. The crime happened in February 2017, shortly after the band played a gig. Investigators found that Smiley had been stabbed at his home and robbed. The three-day trial was held at the Washington County Convention Center due to COVID-19 safety measures. Circuit Court Judge Ashley Hines sentenced Stevenson to life without parole. Stevenson is also charged in connection with 2 other homicides. Those cases remain pending. Another big story tonight out of Bolivar County. Authorities locate one of 2 suspects wanted in a deadly shooting at a nightclub. Officials taking 27-year-old Dontrez Jordan of Mound Bayou into custody. Jordan was wanted for his alleged role in the shooting at Club Outback in Bolivar last weekend. 3 men were killed in that gunfire. 1 was injured. Jordan faced a judge today and was denied bond on 3 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. Jordan is now being housed at the Coahoma County Jail. Meanwhile, the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office is still on the lookout for 19-year-old John Morton, also of Mound Bayou. Anyone with info on Morton's whereabouts is asked to call the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office at 662-843-5378 or Crime Stoppers at 1-888-822-TIPS. Well, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations issues a silver alert for 81-year-old Oscar Earl Boggs of Horn Lake in DeSoto County. Boggs was last seen Wednesday, February 10th. He's described as a white male, 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighing 200 pounds with gray hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a blue shirt, tan pants, and cowboy boots. Boggs was last believed to be driving a 2021 red Toyota Tacoma, traveling northbound on Highway 61 near Clarksdale. Police say Boggs was possibly traveling to see a friend but never arrived. Family members say Boggs suffers from a medical condition that may impair his judgment. If anyone has information regarding the whereabouts of Oscar Boggs, you're asked to contact the Horn Lake Police Department at 662-342-3515. Well, as Arctic air continues to blanket the Delta, many of us awoke to pockets of ice. Cleveland got its share of ice overnight. It can be picturesque if you're looking at it from the inside, but outside is another story, as our Delta News' reporter Timmy Lane discovered.
Residents throughout the state of Mississippi went to sleep with sounds of thunderstorms but woke up to an icy surprise.
Normally you would see signs telling you to share the road with bicyclists, but today you had to share the road with ice. Residents woke up to find their vehicles, houses, trees, and roadways covered with ice. In certain parts of Mississippi, temperatures got low down in the 20s with heavy rainfall. Freezing temperatures and ice didn't stop students, faculty, or staff from returning to school. Early this morning, the Cleveland School District issued a statement regarding school closure. It stated all Cleveland School District schools and offices are open today. February 11, 2021, CSD is continuing to monitor winter weather conditions. Ice could bring joy, fun, and excitement for people, but it could be deadly for animals. Due to freezing temperatures, a lot of fish could be seen floating in the water or land near the banks. Stop signs could be seen with icicles, which if you notice ice on a road, do exactly what the sign says. Stop safely. Take an alternate route or stay home altogether. Do not put your life or other lives at risk. As rain continues to fall here in the Delta, it could possibly bring more ice to the Delta tomorrow. Be sure to monitor your weather channels to stay updated with the latest weather conditions. Timmy Lane, Delta News.
And now to this, the scene like something out of a movie. Several killed and dozens more injured after a massive pileup in Fort Worth, Texas. So officials say the wreckage is due to poor road conditions from freezing rain and ice. Daryl Forges has details.
Cars on top of cars and jackknife semis. Fort Worth police say this pileup involves 75 to 100 vehicles over roughly a mile-long stretch.
In my almost 20 years in the service, this is the first time ever that I see anything like this in Fort Worth.
The massive pileup happened early Thursday morning on Interstate 35 in Fort Worth. Several dead, dozens more rushed to the hospital. The sea of wrecked vehicles due to freezing rain and icy road conditions.
First responders had difficulty actually getting to the vehicles. As they were making their way on the freeway to get to those vehicles, it is very slippery.
First responders facing slippery conditions and also finding ways to keep victims warm from temperatures in the mid-20s.
We were able to get a couple of buses from the fire department to actually put some of the victims of the crash who were not patients but could have become patients because of hypothermia into the bus so they got out of the cold environment. After what first responders are calling a treacherous accident, some drivers lucky enough to already reunite with and hug their loved ones.
Please keep in your prayers the families who have lost a loved one in this massive fatality accident.
I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
We've been telling you this week, the Mississippi State Department of Health announced COVID-19 vaccine shot appointments will be available at select Walmart locations across Mississippi beginning Friday, and that does include the Walmart on U.S. Highway 1 in Greenville. The vaccine rollout comes with the help of the federal government. The Department of Health announced 31 store pharmacies throughout the state will be administering the vaccine, and roughly 200 people can be treated at each store. Currently, those 65 and older and people ages 16 to 64 with underlying health conditions are eligible to get a vaccine in Mississippi. To learn more about how to get the vaccine or if you're eligible, go to the Walmart website, walmart.com/COVID vaccine. Well, because of the coronavirus, this past year has been a gut punch to so many businesses, broadcasting not excluded. Amanda Fontaine, executive director of the Mississippi Association of Broadcasters, paid a visit to the Delta News. She says broadcasters in the Magnolia State and indeed around the world have had to adapt to the pandemic as well. Across the state, TV stations have been closed to the public, and radio stations have slowly begun to return to a new normal. Ever evolving, the MAB has recruiting efforts for college students who've also endured the pandemic.
Most of the radio stations are open, but most of the TV stations are not yet open to the public. We are just adapting, like our MAB day on campus that we have at the colleges and universities. We will actually do that a little different this year, where they send me the students' resumes and reels, then I forward it to the stations and we'll do Zoom interviews.
Fontaine adds they also want to do something special on campus for all students as well. Well, now to this. In their first full day of arguments in their case against former President Trump, House impeachment managers showed senators new video of the deadly insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. That included pointing out just how close the rioters came to the senators. Karen Kefa has details now from Washington.
The House impeachment managers spent yesterday detailing a timeline of events before, leading up to, and on January 6th, alleging that former President Trump spent weeks, even months, priming the rioters who stormed the Capitol for their actions that day. Today, they'll look a little bit more at the aftermath. They will allege that the former president showed no remorse for what he had done, and will also look at some of the aftermath of the riot, some of the things that go beyond just physical trauma.
On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
A direct personal appeal from the House impeachment managers to their jury, senators, most of whom experienced the January 6th insurrection firsthand.
The evidence will show you that ex-President Trump was no innocent bystander.
The Democratic prosecutors alleging former President Donald Trump's incitement began well before his January 6th speech to rallygoers, with repeated calls to stop the steal.
His false claims about election fraud, that was the drumbeat being used to inspire, instigate.
and leaning on disturbing Capitol security video and other law enforcement footage and audio for a dramatic timeline of the insurrection. Critical of Trump's actions that day and his inaction.
He did nothing to stop it, nothing to help us.
Video presented by the House Democrats showing just how close rioters came to former Vice President Mike Pence and to the senators themselves.
You were just 58 steps away from where the mob was amassing.
Responding on Fox News, President Trump's attorney David Schoen accused House managers of reopening wounds.
They're just hoping to drum up emotion and get their last shots in at President Trump.
The defense begins their arguments before the Senate tomorrow. And with only a handful of Republicans signaling any kind of willingness to perhaps consider voting to convict the former president, Trump's defense team only expects to take 1 day with their arguments. Sources say that they will wrap things up tomorrow night. In Washington, I'm Karen Kifa.